Hello, I'm here to read to you the next part from where I finished. So I hope you're comfy in bed or whatever, or downloading this to listen to later. Love you, Claire Cooper. Okay. Soon my breathing had relaxed, and my mind, if not content, had at least stopped whirling. This white-haired man's resemblance to the man in my dreams was surely a coincidence. With a sigh, I stood, zipped up my jacket, and sallied forth in the chill air. He was still sitting there as I walked past and stole a last quick look at his face. A glimmer in his eyes caught mine. His eyes were like none I'd seen before. At first they seemed to have tears in them, ready to spill over. Then the tears turned to a twinkle, like a reflection of the starlight. I was drawn deeper into his gaze, until the stars themselves became only a reflection of his eyes. I was lost for a time, seeing nothing but those eyes, the unyielding and curious eyes of an infant. I don't know how long I stood there. It could have been seconds or minutes, maybe longer. With a start, I became aware of where I was. Mumbling a good night, feeling off balance, I hurried toward the corner. When I reached the curb, I stopped. My neck tingled. I felt that he was watching me. I turned back. No more than 15 seconds had passed, but there he was, standing on the roof, his arms crossed, looking up at the starry sky. I gaped at the empty chair, still leaning back against the wall, then up again. It was impossible. If he had been changing a wheel on a carriage made from a giant pumpkin drawn by huge mice, the effect couldn't have been more startling. In the stillness of the night, I stared up at his lean shape, an imposing presence even at a distance. I heard the stars chime like bells singing in the wind. Suddenly he snapped his head around and stared directly into my eyes. He was about 60 feet away, but I could almost feel his breath on my face. I shivered, but not from cold. That doorway, where reality dissolved into dreams, cracked open again. I looked up at him. "Yes," he said, "can I help you?" Prophetic words. "Excuse me, but you are excused," he smiled. I felt my face flush. This was starting to irritate me. He was playing a game with me, but I didn't know the rules. "Alright, how did you get on the roof?" "Get up on the roof?" he queried, looking innocent and puzzled. "Yes, how did you get from that chair," I pointed, "up to that roof in less than 20 seconds? You were leaning back against the wall, right there." I turned, walked over to the corner, and you... "I know exactly what I was doing," his voice boomed. "There is no need to describe it to me. The question is, do you know what you were doing?" "Of course, I know what I was doing." I was getting angry now. I wasn't some child to be lectured to, but I desperately wanted to find out the old man's gimmick, so I held my temper and requested politely, "Please, sir, tell me how you got up on the roof." He just stared down at me in silence until the back of my neck began to get prickly. Finally he replied, "Used a ladder, it's around back." Then ignoring me, he looked upward again. I walked quickly around back. Sure enough, there was an old ladder leaning crookedly against the back wall. But the ladder's top was at least 5 feet short of the roof's edge, even if he could have used it, which was highly doubtful. That wouldn't explain how he got up there in a few seconds. Something landed on my shoulder in the darkness. I gasped and whirled around to see his hand. Somehow he'd gotten off the roof and crept up on me. Then I guessed the only possible answer. He had a twin. They obviously got their kicks scaring the wits out of innocent visitors. I accused him immediately. "Alright, mister, where's your twin? I'm nobody's fool." He frowned slightly, then started to roar with laughter. Ha, that clinched it. I was right. I'd found him out. But his answer made me less sure of myself. "If I had a twin, do you think I'd be the one wasting my time, standing here talking with nobody's fool?" He laughed again and strode back toward the garage, leaving me standing open-mouthed. I couldn't believe the nerve of this guy. I hurried to catch up with him. He walked into the garage and started to tinker with the carburetor under the hood of an old green Ford pickup. "So you think I'm a fool?" I said, sounding more belligerent than I'd intended. "We're all fools together," he replied. It's just that a few people know it, others don't. You seem to be one of the latter types. Hand me that small wrench, will you? I handed him his damn wrench and started to leave. Before I left, though, I had to know. Would you please tell me how you got up on the roof so quick? I'm really puzzled. He handed me back the wrench, saying, the world's a puzzle. No need to make sense out of it. He pointed to the shelf behind me. I'll need the hammer and the screwdriver now, over there. Frustrated, I watched him for another minute, trying to figure out how to get him to tell me what I wanted to know, but he seemed oblivious to my presence. I gave up and started toward the door when I heard him say, stick around and make yourself useful, deftly removing the carburetor like a surgeon in the middle of a heart transplant. He set it down carefully and turned to face me. Here, he said, handing me the carburetor, take this apart and put the pieces in that can to soak. It'll take your mind off your questions. My frustration dissolved into laughter. This old man could be irritating, but he was interesting too. I decided to be sociable. My name's Dan, I said, reaching out to shake his hand, smiling insincerely. What's yours? He placed a screwdriver in my outstretched hand. My name doesn't matter, neither does yours. What is important is what lies beyond names and beyond questions. Now, you will need this screwdriver to take apart the carburetor. He pointed. Nothing lies beyond questions, I retorted. Like, how did you fly up on that rooftop? I didn't fly, I jumped, was his poker-faced reply. It's not magic, so don't get your hopes up. In your case, however, I may have to perform some very difficult magic. It looks as if I'm going to have to transform a jackass into a human being. Who the hell do you think you are? I am a warrior, he snapped. Beyond that, who I am depends on who you want me to be. Can't you just answer a straight question? I attacked the carburetor with a vengeance. Ask me one and I'll try, he said, smiling innocently. The screwdriver slipped and I skinned my finger. Damn, I yelled, going to the sink to wash the cut. He handed me a band-aid. Alright then, here's a straight question, I determined to keep my voice patient. How can you be useful to me? I have already been useful to you, he replied, pointing to the band-aid on my finger. That did it. Look, I can't waste my time here any longer. I need to get some sleep. I put the carburetor down and got ready to leave. How do you know you haven't been asleep your whole life? How do you know you're not asleep right now? He said, watching me intently. Whatever you say, I was too tired to argue. One thing though, before I go. How did you pull off the stunt? You know, on the... Tomorrow, Dan, tomorrow, he interrupted. Then he smiled warmly, and all my fears and frustration dissolved. He reached out and held my bandaged hand. Soon my hand, my arm, then my whole body started to tingle. He added, it's been pleasant seeing you again. What do you mean again? I began, then caught myself. I know, tomorrow. We both laughed. I walked to the door, stopped, turned, stared at him, then said, Goodbye, Socrates. He looked bewildered, then shrugged good-naturedly. I think he liked the name. I left without another word. I slept through my 8 o'clock class next morning. By the time my afternoon gymnastics workout started, I was awake and ready to go. After running up and down the bleacher stairs, Rick, Sid and I, along with our teammates, lay on the floor sweating and panting, stretching our legs, shoulders and backs. Usually I was silent during this ritual, but today I felt like telling them about last night. All I could say was I met this unusual guy at the gas station at Rainbow's End last night. I'm nearly out of time, baby. I'm sorry. I'll do the next bit tomorrow, unless you want me to go quicker. I love you and I miss you like mad today because I've got the flu and I don't feel very well. I hope you're going to call soon. Love you.